I want to play some amazing audio from the president once again telling us that we're just nothing but lottery winners. If you've worked hard, if you've actually made money, you've built something, you're just a lottery winner. That's all you are. And here's the president.
So when I say that, I'm not saying that because I dislike hedge fund managers or I think they're evil.
Yes, you do.
I'm saying that you're paying a lower rate than a lot of folks who are making $300,000 a year. You pretty much have more than you'll ever be able to use and your family will ever be able to use. There's a fairness issue involved here. And by the way, if we were able to close that loophole,
What's the
I
fairness
can now
issue?
invest in early childhood education that will make a difference. That's where the rubber hits the road.
Is it?
That's, Arthur, where the question of compassion, I'm my brother's keeper, comes into play.
Wow.
And if we can't ask from society's lottery winners to just make that modest investment,
just that modest,
then really this conversation is for show.
Yeah, okay. All right. So that's the president this weekend.
That's amazing.
I'll give you that.
Amazing.
It is for show.
It is for
I
show.
will say that. This conversation has
How
become
much is
about
this
a
guy
show.
given? How much is this guy given? Look at his tax records. How much has he given to
only
charity?
when he hit the national scene did he start to give a decent percentage of his
Yeah,
income.
it was like 1, 2, no higher than 6%.
Yes, at first it was no higher than 2 or 3%.
It's unbelievable.
Now it's about 14. Usually it was around 14, 15%.
Yeah.
14.
Look,
Because he doesn't want to answer to this now. But he doesn't believe in charity. He believes in government handouts.
Right.
So
it's really sick.
Joe Biden is the consistent one there because so does he. And then he just lets the government do it. He doesn't do much.
So today, we're not just going to whine about it. We actually have a solution. And it actually started with a charity. Back in 2010, this program asked Michelle Malkin if she would donate something to, what was it, for the Restoring Honor event, I think it was. And she said, yes, I'll do a charity fundraiser, and I'll take people on a train ride in Colorado. And we mocked it. We were like, "Oh, that's good." Michelle all by herself with strangers on a train. It doesn't. Hey,
was
come
a
into
hike
the,
or something, wasn't
come
there?
into the woods with me.
Yeah,
It was not a good idea. But it was that gave birth to what we're about to announce, and she's about to release tomorrow. Michelle Malkin is here with us now. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Glenn.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
It's been a very long journey for this.
Yeah, it's been like a train ride up
Yes,
Pikes Peak.
It has. So you took the train ride up to Pikes Peak. Then I think a year later or 2 years later, we were doing the big deal that weekend at Dallas Cowboy Stadium for Restoring Love, and you had come in for a Freedom Works event at the American Airlines Arena, and you and I spent some time backstage, and we started talking about entrepreneurs and people who did build that.
Yeah, we totally geeked out. And I think we discussed everything from, the tinkering penchant to the teaching of math in this country. And, of course, a lot of that was the groundwork for the work that we've done together on Common Core. And I think that this book is absolutely an extension of those conversations. And, you've had a pivotal role in all of this, and it kind of underscores one of the themes of the book, which is the magic and the miracle of the voluntary exchanges of ideas and goods and services that happen in this country every single day without the hand of government, without a federal Department of Innovation or an invention czar or somebody telling us what we should invest our money in. And, whether it's as something mundane as a book or a bottle cap or a roll of toilet paper, these things happen not because somebody decides in Washington that they're going to happen, but because people want them and need them, and we have a free market system that has served us extremely well. And so for the president, who teed up the launch of this book perfectly with his remarks last week that you just highlighted, thanks, Obama, for him to have such scorn and open contempt for this country, I couldn't stand it anymore. And that's what drove this book. Of course, in a capitalist system, we want to make money. Everybody who's an inventor or maker or builder wants to make money. But do you think that's the ultimate driver? That's the engine? No, it's this insatiable need and drive to make something in the world and fix it and tinker with it all your entire life. And so, I have these tinkerpreneurs in the book who, they came up with one thing and then another, and they had hundreds and hundreds of patents, and they worked themselves until they couldn't work anymore. And you certainly can't say that of the golfer-in-chief on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Okay, so now the name of the book is Who Built That? And you cover everybody, and I want to cover a couple of chapters, but I want to start with something that I did not expect to find in the book, which I found strangely fascinating. Toilet paper.
Yes. Well, I talked about how I think that we take for granted, especially in a 21st century internet age, the mundane things that we absolutely need. And I picked toilet paper for a number of reasons. One, you look at a place like Venezuela, and I think the shortage of toilet paper there is so ultimately symbolic because they can't even make that. What does that say about the absence of a free market, the absence of choice, the absence of the ability to profit off of things? And toilet paper is one of those products that it encompass hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of entrepreneurs. And so I trace the history of toilet paper back to the founding fathers. And if you love history, if you love tinkering, you're going to love the book because you're going to learn so many things about how the voluntary cooperation of even some of the founding fathers play into the chapter as well. I wrote it in the voice of a roll of toilet paper because I was inspired by one of my favorite all-time essays that is such a great learning tool, especially for elementary school kids, was written by Leonard Read, who was a libertarian economist, who wrote the very, very famous essay, I Pencil, to illustrate this example of how the concentric circles of individuals pursuing their own self-interests produce something like a pencil, something that no government bureaucrat could ever order with an executive order.
I have to tell you, I hate to harp on the toilet paper part, but I was shocked what I learned about toilet paper. I was shocked that Poor Richard's Almanac was really kind of the first toilet paper. That's why it has a hole in it so you could hang it there, that they were using that. Sears and Roebuck's, the catalog was toilet paper. I had no idea it was, really, Michelle, why did it take us so long before we went, hey, how about soft paper?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was interesting to me in the history of it was the kinds of things that entrepreneurs had to overcome. And with regard to toilet paper, it really was considered one of those things you couldn't talk about in public. So I traced the history of that. And, of course, the company that one of the many, many companies that I highlighted, which, of course, people are most familiar with, is the Scott Brothers. And these guys started out in Pennsylvania as sellers of butcher paper, which, is not as nice as the Charmin, for sure.
No. And it's amazing that they're still the guys who started it are still really doing it. You learn all the term. Anyway, I don't need to focus on that. You also talk about the bridge builders here in America, the guy who came up with how the bottle cap was started. You tell my favorite story of Westinghouse and Tesla. What is the thing that you connected with the most?
Well, the very first chapter is one of my favorite chapters, and I think it will be a favorite chapter of a lot of your readers and listeners as well, because it deals with a product that I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with, the Maglite flashlight. I got to go out to Ontario, California, and visit the headquarters of Anthony Maglica's Maglite company. And, this guy really is literally the torchbearer of the American dream. He's your prototypical immigrant who came here with absolutely nothing and expected nothing, felt entitled to nothing but the opportunity to try. He came here with $120 and 20 English words that he knew. And he never gave up. And, I mentioned the vacationer in chief in Washington. This guy is 84 years old. He still goes to his factory every day at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. He's the last one to leave. He hasn't had a vacation in 10 years. And yes, he's made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, but that is not what drives him. It's the ability to be able to come here with nothing, make something of himself, make something that people want, and then never stop improving it. There are so many things that he told me in my visit that I think that have a lot of resonance for public policy and politics today. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you were running for president, don't you dare say that you have ever created a job, because you have not. It's people like Anthony Maglica and all of the Tinkerpreneurs that I talk in the book who are the real heroes. And there used to be a time in the 18th and 19th century when these are the guys that were the rock stars of public life. And I'd love to get back to that place, and that's why I wrote the book. I tell you, Michelle, I was just out in Silicon Valley, and I don't know why we're not focusing. Back at the turn of the last century, we had Tesla, Edison, all of these great minds that were changing the world. Well, that's happening again in Silicon Valley. And one of the big names that jumps off the page is, what's his name from Tesla? Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. How is Elon Musk not the Tesla or the Edison of our day? These guys, we don't know these guys. Why is that? And how do we get back there?
Well, I think a lot of it, of course, is you have the dominance of D.C.-centric and New York City-centric media outlets, and I think the Hollywood cultural left, and they have always demonized business owners and entrepreneurs and people who are on the cutting edge. And this circles back to what Obama was saying last week that you highlighted. I mean, you have somebody who has insisted that he's, quote unquote, the president of America, and yet he goes to Georgetown University. He goes to, the elite circles of academia. And what does he do? Well, he indulges the same progressive impulse to wealth shame. That's the phenomenon that I identify in the introduction of the book. Come for the Obama bashing and progressive bashing in the book, and stay for the history. The idea that economic achievement is random, like it's the Powerball lottery, and that your lot in life can never be improved. Of course, that's what they want to do. This is chapter and verse number 1, and the end, the beginning, the end, and the middle for the Obama gospel of government dependency. And so, of course, what they do is denigrate the very people that offer some hope and inspiration to people who want to lift themselves up. What is the history of this country? The history of this country has always been about social mobility. Social mobility is anathema to the progressive agenda.
Michelle Malkin, the name of the book is Who Built That? It's in stores tomorrow, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I know you can go to glennbeck.com/Malkin and order your copy today, and it'll be at your house by tomorrow. But grab this book. As she said, this does take apart the progressive ideology. It takes apart the things that the president is building and saying. But more importantly, it's good. It's not just the problem, it's the solution. We have to look at inside of ourselves and find that entrepreneur and start holding up. If it's not you, because there's people that work on the lines of, there are people who are actually building the Tesla car. Not all of us can be Elon Musk. But that's okay. But we're all part of this. And get your kids excited. Get yourself excited again about the American spirit. Who Built That is the name of the book, Awe-Inspiring Stories of America's Tinkerpreneurs by Michelle Malkin, available in bookstores everywhere and at glennbeck.com/Malkin. Michelle, as always, good to talk to you.
You too. Take care, Glenn.
Thank you. Bye-bye.